Hello everyone, Bhavna Gunwani this side. Today in this session I am going to talk about polymorphism, which is one of the another most important concept of object oriented programming. Polymorphism is basically the word which is made up of two subforms, which is poly and morpho, where poly says many and morpho says forms. Polymorphism in Java can be achieved in two different ways, that is known as method overloading and method overriding. We also call it as compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. There are two types of polymorphism as I am telling you. Compile time polymorphism can be achieved with method overloading, and runtime polymorphism can be achieved with method overriding. Basically, these words are to be implemented and achieved for real-time case studies which belongs to a real-time entities and objects. The moment we talk about compile time polymorphism, this type of polymorphism is also called static polymorphism or static method dispatch. As I am telling you, this can be achieved with method overloading. Basically, method overloading says that a class can have more than one method with same name but different function signatures. It means that whatever number of methods you are going to add into one particular class to add on the behaviors of that particular entity, they should have different arguments into the functions being passed, method being passed. An example of compile time polymorphism, since actual calling is resolved at compile time, that's what we call it as compile time polymorphism. Basically, considering a class where multiple methods have the same name, it will be difficult for the compiler to distinguish between every method. And to overcome this problem, we pass a different number of arguments. You can have three iterations, you can have different number of arguments, you can have different sequence of arguments, or you can have different type of arguments in the method overloading. The another that you can achieve is runtime polymorphism, that also known as method overriding, that being achieved, or a dynamic method dispatch. Basically, when we talk about method overriding, this can be achieved with the help of inheritance, because in which multiple classes comes into the picture, a kind of parent-child relationship comes into the picture. A derived class, child class, or subclass have the methods with exactly the same signature as a base class or parent class is having. So overriding general meaning itself is the rewriting the behavior. So changing the behavior of an existing method in the base class, we override that into the child class. Method must have same access modifier like public, protected, and internal, but not private, because private members again will make a issue with overriding. An overridden class method is also called its parent reference. We'll tell you more about this in practical approach. Example of runtime polymorphism, since actual method calling is at the runtime or dynamically method approach, as I told you. So that happens at runtime. I'm so excited to tell you more about it practically. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Hello everyone, Bhavna Gunwani this side. Today in this session, I'm going to talk about method overloading with practical approach. As I told you, in Java, two or more methods may have the same name, but they have a different parameters in form of different number of parameters, sequence of parameters, or type of parameters. So let's understand with the help of an example. Considering I also have one of the predefined example that you can relate with method overloading. When you write system.out.println, at that point of time, you can see that there is one println method in this system class. But you can see that we have a different println method. One is to print the string, another is to print the object, integer, boolean, character, character array, double, float. So there is only one method which is iterating to print the output or values to the end user, depending upon what kind of parameter you are passing into that will actually override that method or call that method at the time of compilation. You can also achieve this with the help of your real-time example to be cop up with. So what I really need to do is, for example, I have a calculation class, and today I really need a requirement to calculate the addition of two numbers of integer type. I'm here going to return the value which is being calculated into this public integer value to be returned. So this will return number 1 plus number 2. Tomorrow might I have a requirement to calculate the sum of two float numbers. So I'll just not again and again give a unique name to the methods. I will simply overload my addition method by passing the different signatures or parameters. You can see that in the first addition I am passing two integer numbers. Here I am passing two float numbers, and that is, it's calculating the sum of two float numbers and returning the float number itself. Return type is float. Same thing I am doing here. For example, tomorrow any array comes in of integer type, and there are multiple values into the integer type of array. So I am expecting numbers array here, and here I just need to return the sum of the integer array. So here I'm going to declare the variable result, assigning it with 0, iterating a for loop, integer I equals to 0 until I is less than and equals to numbers. So as I'm doing less than, then I'll just go for numbers dot length, and then I will simply say plus plus. And each iteration I'll say result plus equals to whatever number is available at ith index of the numbers array. And at the end, finally, I'm going to return the result. So you can see that. So tomorrow, if I might need to calculate the addition of two multiple float numbers coming in the form of array, so I'll simply expect the float array, and the return type will also be float. So here, same thing is happening. Result will return the float value itself. So you can see that in one particular calculation class, I'm going to overload addition 4 times. So you can see that here the two integer values and here two integer float values. So here the type is different. Here the integer number is there, and here one parameter is there, and here two parameters are there. So here it's number of parameters. Similarly, if you want one integer, one float, and one integer, one float again, so you can write float first and then integer second to overcome this issue. So this is how overloading comes into the picture. Now in the main method, the moment I am going to instantiate my calculation class, at that point of time, I'll simply say calculation dot. You can see that the way I was displaying you system.out.println, the println method itself was overloaded. So here addition method comes up in overloading and asking which method you wanted to call. I first wanted to call the addition of two numbers, integer numbers. It is returning the value. So I'll suggest you either you can assign it to a particular variable, or you can directly call it in sys out, that is okay. Same thing I'm doing again, sys out, and this time I'm going to say calculation dot. Again I'm going to call addition, but here two float values, 100.50f, and here I just wanted to pass 200.65 something. And then same thing I'm doing here. Let's say I am declaring two arrays here, integer numbers equals to new integer, and here I'm having 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Same way I'm going to declare the floating numbers, int numbers, and here we have float numbers. You need to pass the floating value 10.2f, 20.4f, 30.6f, 40.45f, 50.50f. With respect, I need to call them one after the another as depending upon your requirement. Calculation dot addition, integer numbers, sys out, calculation dot addition, float numbers. And let's just try to call this and check. So here it's sum of two integers, sum of two floats, integer array, and the unfortunately we have same value for the floating values and integer values here. So this is how it comes up in. So guys, really appropriate in real time where overloading helps in the compile time analyzation, and better way to complete this task where depending upon the argument being passed, this helps to increase the readability of the program also. And one more thing I would like to tell you, couple of ground rules you might need to understand. Most of the people get confused that if I am changing the return type but I'm not changing the parameter, can I do consider this as an overloading? So guys, no, because overloading on methods for a different return type is not allowed, even though you cannot perform overloading for different return types. And the second most important question being asked is, can we overload the main method? So yes guys, you can have multiple main methods in one particular class. Depending their argument, whatever parameter you are passing here must be different. I'll tell you in next example. So I hope this part is very clear to all of you. Until next time, stay tuned. Thank you. Hello everyone, Bhavna Gunwani this side. Today in this session I am going to talk about method overriding. Basically, method overriding is another important feature in Java which is used quite often in programming. In a Java, a child class can define the method with the same signature as it in parent class. And if we do so, we call this as a method overriding. Method overriding simply helps in redefining the behavior of the parent class member function into the child class, which relates to the particular entity in which the class is inherited. While method overriding, there are some ground rules that one must to follow. For example, methods must have the same access modifier if it is public, protected, and internal, but not the private. There are some other also ground rules that you need to set, that we should have the same name of the method, same signature of the method as discussed, the access modifier equal or the higher, not below 1, it has to be. So this is how method overriding plays an important role. There must be a parent-child relationship in which method overriding is possible. Signature of the parent and child, as I told you, should be same. If return type of the parent class method is primitive type, then the child class must also have the return type same. And if the return type of the parent class method is int, for example, so child class should also have a same return type called int, otherwise it will give you the compile time error. But if in case of non-primitive type, the covariant return type can be also used in the case of child, that you may learn in the upcoming iterations. One most important question being asked, can we overwrite every method of a parent class? No. Private, static, and final method cannot be overridden in the child class. Next, I'm going to tell you how exactly you can actually implement overriding practically. Considering I have a class course, the course has the basic properties like string, course name, course duration, and course fee. There is a method to print these details. You can also define the constructor to initialize their values. Let's say I'm going to initialize the course constructor, string name, duration, and fee, which helps in initializing the data members. This dot name equals to name. This dot duration equals to duration, and post that also fee. Then I have one method, fee print details, that is going to print the course details, course name, course duration, and course fees. Post that, I have further implementation of this particular class. Let's say I have two different variants of course. We have a online course and we have offline course. While doing online course, I have different iterations. For example, I have integer, course accessed hours, course consumed remaining hours. Now I'm going to create the constructor online course, accessed hours, and consumed hours, remaining hours. Going to initialize my data members. Now obviously my parent class is having a print method which is printing the course detail, but I also need to print the respective online course specific fields. So I am going to redefine the behavior of this print class, but this time in this online course class, this is going to display the accessed hours and the remaining hours. Accessed hours and the remaining hours. Now you can see that my parent class is already having a print method and my child class is also having a print method. But as of now, there is no restrict reason that I need to forcefully should give the same access modifier, return type, and the method name itself. Because if I am giving it, I am overriding it. But if I am changing the behavior of it, then it would be like a normal member function. But as of now, this is also considering that I'm going to redefine it in a print method, but not like a contract. I'll come back to you very soon on this in my next session, where I would introduce abstract method and abstract classes with you. But this is also a kind of overriding a print method this way. So what will happen now, when I'll implement the offline course in 2 minutes. The moment I am going to instantiate online course, you know that online course is acquiring accessed hours and remaining hours. The moment I'll give the accessed hours, let's say 10, and the remaining hours, let's say 50. So at this point of time, this online course is not going to inherit my parent class, but the moment I'll say that it is going to extend my parent class course, this will give you the error because your course is not having a default constructor. I think I have already told you the constructor chaining part with the help of the super keyword. This will try to call a super class constructor, but it is not available with it. Either you should have a default constructor, but if you have a parameterized constructor, you need to forcefully call it. You need to pass the course name, course duration, and course fee, but I don't want to pass it manually. I would like to pass these parameters here while initializing my online course. So giving here the string course name, course duration, and course fee. So 3 more parameters I need to pass here. Let's say C#, or you can say Java, course duration 60 hours, course fee 12,000. That's it. So now these values are being passed. You can assign name, duration, and fee to the superclass constructor so that they can be initialized, and they can be post that initializing my access hours and the remaining hours as well. Similarly, the moment I'll call my print method. So what gets happen, guys, when such situations happen when your parent class is also having the same method as your child class is having, and you are going to initialize your child class, your print method of the child class is going to invoke. So what you need to do is you first need to try which print method is being invoked. So you can see that the print of online course is going to invoke. But what I can do is I can come here and I can say that before executing this piece of code, I wanted to call my super class print method. So whatever, I don't want to redefine it. I want to add on the piece of code just after accessing the print method class of the parent class, and then forward to the child class remaining statements. And this is how it works. So course name is Java, course duration is 60, course fees is 12,000, access hours 10, remaining hours 50. I hope it's clear to everyone how it really helps in real time, because every iteration will be having online courses having their own access modifier accessibilities like attributes and behaviors. For example, for the offline also, I'm going to extend my course class here, and this course class is actually will have certain different attributes and behavior. For example, offline class will have the lab access, lab access hours, lab remaining hours. So in that case, again, this is an offline course extending the course. So it is saying that you should have the course constructor to be called, which we do not have a default constructor. So we need to call it from the child class. Again, you need to do the same as you are doing in the online course. But in this way, you just need to pass on the lab access hours, lab remaining hours, and here access hours and remaining hours needs to be passed, and this is offline course. And similarly, going to call my print class, create my print method, which will be invoking my super print method, and then lab access hours and lab remaining hours gets printed. And here I'm doing the same offline hour, offline course equals to new offline course, passing on the name advanced Java, duration is 30 hours, fees is 20,000, accessed hours is 15, remaining hours are 15, and then simply call the print method. This is your advanced Java, and all the offline course details are getting printed. So guys, this is a very basic skeleton of overriding, where we are overriding the print method into the child classes, and this is a kind of tree-like inheritance. Employee in course inherited to the offline and online course, but in other iterations coming in the future, I'll tell you your child class should have a force to override your parent class, because there are certain cases where we do not want to implement the parent class like this. We just wanted to create a skeleton ready, or maybe we wanted to create a particular method being added, and that is a force to implement into the child class so that they can attach moreover attributes and behavior to it in a real time. I hope this basic skeleton is clear to everyone. Until next time, stay tuned. Thank you so much.